Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silent Podcasts, where we're anything but silent. My name is Matt Scott. I am the co-host of Rob Has a Podcast, Wrestling Rehab, with the one and only Mari Forth, an RHAP contributor. And I'm excited to welcome you to this Act 3 podcast about episodes 8 to 10 and really just the whole series of Black Widow Brigade, which is available on YouTube. You can check it out there. And if you want an easy link to get there, bit.ly/Black Widow Brigade, or just, follow Silent Podcasts on all of the different apps for more. You could check out Silent Podcasts on YouTube, where you could watch this podcast and see our beautiful faces today, or follow along on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, other apps that people may or may not use. But today, I am joined by none other than the one, the only, she's bigger than the game, Stella Skews You, aka Grace Little Caesar.
Little Caesar, new one.
Sorry, Grace. I've been like fantasizing about Little Caesars all day. It's been like really, I know. I've just been thinking about their really delicious cardboard tasting pizza. Maybe that'll be your thing. Maybe we could call you that from now on. It's
I guess
more of a mouthful
Caesar
than Leeder,
it like rhymes
kind of. We didn't have a lot to work with. There's not a lot to work with.
I do have a question for you. It's not causing you physical pain for me to be here, is it? As I ask you this question.
Whoa. Okay, Grace. Maybe it is causing me physical pain for you to be here. I guess we'll never know.
We're talking. It's over. The show's over, but it was really fun.
Is it though? Really? Because it'll always be in our hearts, won't it?
What's the expression? Like, smile because it happened, don't cry because it's over. Is it the thing? Is that what they say?
Or you could cry because it's over too.
Oh, you're absolutely allowed to cry because it's over.
Yeah, I found myself crying as this ended. A tear came to my eye, especially as we said goodbye to all of our friends. It's sad. Like, where are we going to see any of these people?
I don't know. I think now they've had their 15 minutes of fame, and now it's time to like move on and let somebody else have the show. I don't think we'll see much of these people moving forward.
Wow.
Not in our community.
Shame. It's a lot like Survivor seasons 1 to 39, where Jeff was like, "We're done.
They're gone.
Never going to see any of those people again."
They're
wow.
Yeah.
So sad. Well, hopefully this is a good eulogy for all of them. And unfortunately, the one, the only, really, you and LaTonya started as guests, but truly co-hosts of this amazing journey. LaTonya Starks is not able to join us this time, but always here in spirit. Always here in spirit. Yeah. What do you think LaTonya would say about saying goodbye to our friends? Probably cry mostly, I'm guessing.
Probably, and then she'd like wipe her tears and throw them all in the trash. I think it's like she's kind of vicious sometimes. LaTonya.
I like it. We like
good.
it. I think LaTonya would be great in the Black Widow Brigade.
Alex, you got to get on that.
If there's ever a
LaTonya
season 2,
Starks.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But so we ended this journey, and I think a good place for us to even just start out, and something that I was just so happy to see in my timeline on Twitter over the last day, pretty much, was just the reaction to the season. And if you're watching on YouTube, you could see our fancy graphics. There's some tweets. We had a number of people, though, who were tweeting about the show. James Hayden, who tweeted about Black Widow Brigade, saying it was an enjoyable game to follow. Great job putting this together. Alex G, and great game, everyone. We had Mark Levy, who mentioned every episode of BWB being great. Happy he was able to experience this. Dan Sinensky, a player in the game, famed player who we'll probably never hear from ever again at No Dice Dan, mentioning that Black Widow Brigade was a blast, and of course plugging his famed Claremont salad. Wow. So there was really a lot here, and we heard some other reactions. Gregory McBean mentioning they didn't want to spoil the finale, but incredible episode. Love the final 2. Great game to both of them. And I guess probably to us as viewers, great game.
I think when to both of you, Greg's talking to us. I think.
Maybe to us. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
We have had a great game,
Thanks,
and we've
Greg.
appreciated that. But before even going more into the wonderful tweets, Grace, what like we haven't even talked about what happened,
I
but
know.
I don't know who's supposed to say it. Are we just not allowed to?
Uh,
Like, is it still no spoilers?
I think
Are we
the
allowed to
it's
say
past. I
that?
think we are allowed to say it.
Okay,
Say it on 3.
you
We'll
want to
say it
do
who
it?
won on 3. 1, 2,
Okay,
3. Dr. Amanda
Daddy
was robbed.
Bloom. Oh,
Yeah, Dr. Amanda was
mm,
robbed.
my dad won.
Your dad did. What? How did Mike? So I think the last episode we were on, we all made predictions. We were like, "Here's who. This is
Yeah.
probably how it'll go." And Mike Bloom surprised us all. I just thought he was playing. I thought he was playing too out in front, too boldly to get taken to the end. And I thought that even if he got to the end, I wasn't sure that he would have the votes to win, or probably that somebody else who was with like more than likely had fulfilled their win condition. And then
Yeah.
I was just very, very wrong. Mike won
I
in a pretty
y-
like runaway vote. Like there's a lot of votes, but he got a lot of them.
yeah, and we know, well, first of all, just this idea that Dr. Amanda was robbed is a very popular one. It's going viral. It's all over the Twitters. And I could tell you, Kay Breezy mentioned keeping up the tradition of Amanda's losing the final vote. Hashtag justice for Dr. Applebee's,
Dr.
which is a
Applebee's is like, wow, iconic. Some moments take a long
iconic.
time to become, and some of them happen immediately. And Dr.
Thank,
Applebee's,
thank you, Karishma. I
yeah,
feel like that's not the first time that Karishma's written the phrase "Dr. Applebee's." By the way,
I don't think so.
probably not. And look, we saw it. Dr. Applebee's robbed G. Otis. Everyone, it's established. We've seen it. It's painful. But I mean, ugh, I wanted Dr. Amanda to have that win. I mean, I think maybe Mike Bloom wanted Dr. Amanda to have that win at the end of the day too. I don't know. Like, what did she even do wrong in the game?
So I don't know if that she did anything wrong. I think it's that Mike's game looks a little. Mike's game is much flashier, right? Like
It
in,
is.
it's much more on screen, and I think that like if you look at episode 9 is really interesting. This show, I loved the like you know you don't know who the Black Widow Brigade is. You're guessing, and then at the
Yeah.
end of episode 8, there's this like reveal from Jordan Kalish, who's like, Josh, listen to me, like listen to me. And then like the moment where he reveals all the Black Widow Brigades, and the next episode is like, how'd they do it? Is
Yeah.
like really really fun, and like I think really impressive from Alex and the team, who anybody who worked on the show with Alex, is really impressive from a storytelling perspective, because it's not like this is a guarantee that like
Mhm.
you get the Black Widow Brigade, all 5 of them at the end. I did get some feedback from some folks who had
Oh,
played in the test games after last time.
right.
And because I said last time, this feels like a game that the Black Widow dominates a lot. And the
Mhm.
feedback I got is that in the test games, the Black Widow Brigade makes about up a third of the cast in any season, and they typically win about a third of the time. So it's pretty
Mhm.
like even. And them taking the shot at DJ LaBelle Klein and getting Detective
Exactly.
Dean out, like totally, just like let them have a little bit of a runaway here. But Mike's
Yeah.
game is
Ugh.
not all of it, but it's mostly when everybody's around, and it felt like Amanda's game was when at night when they were
Yeah.
together. And I think
Mm.
that when you're like, when the jury, that's the stuff they can't see. We got to see it at the end in like episode uh 9, but I think that the jury, you see an idol play where he convinced his own teammates to give him fire tokens. Amanda misplays her vote, steal a vote, which we can chat about the mechanics of how
Yeah.
that happened. But I think when you sort of like tick the boxes, Mike's game is more public, and he maybe is able to like. There's probably a few things that Amanda did that I think could have swayed some votes, but were kind of behind closed doors. So I think impressive win by Mike. I'm just sad that Dr. Amanda didn't win.
That's it. That's the podcast. That's it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I think, everything, I completely agree with everything you said. And I think that it's where do I even start? So like going back to just the brigade and their power, I heard the same feedback and the thoughts too. And, I think last episode we sort of like we looked at it like, oh man, the Brigade's dominating, but we also were aware that they played all the different test games. And so
Yep.
we know that like the game wasn't going to be lopsided every time. It
Yep.
just happened to be lopsided in favor
Yep.
of the Brigade this time. Not that it didn't make it any less entertaining, and actually it should be interesting like in the future seeing the game played when the Brigade doesn't take out the detective first, which was really, I think, the big difference maker in all of this. But with everything you're saying about Amanda, I would just also add that even just with Final Tribal, Mike was able to articulate certain points to his game. And I think that this is something that happens in games, all sorts of games, a lot, where you're playing your game, but you have to always remember like the jury and what they see and what they don't see. And also who's in the jury, like what will convince them? Will it be a point of like, I made it here. And I don't know exactly off the top of my head exactly what Amanda's argument was, but watching it back a second time, I was taking note of Mike's argument just being a little bit more like surgical in a sense about ironic doctor, huh? But like surgical in a sense of pointing out specific moves, which I think people might appreciate. Whereas her argument, which probably reminds me of like an argument that I would make in the end, just naturally, ended up being a little bit more vague. But I mean, like all of my notes, especially from episode 9 going through the Brigade, are like Dr. Amanda played the role of helping them sort through the rules and strategy. Dr. Amanda throws out Will's name. Dr. Amanda flips her vote, so it's not obvious that the Brigade all voted together. And the list goes on.
Dr. Amanda calls out
on.
Jordan for being is catching Jordan the lie, is able to convince the others that Jordan is lying.
She said a brilliant line there, by the way, which I had to write down, which is Amanda to Jordan saying that your lie is dumb. Does that make it more convincing? Which, yeah, that's what everyone tries to do. And she clocked it and called it out. So appreciation to the robbed goddess.
I also thought that I thought Jason's question, and I know that whether or not we want to say that Jason's probably going to be a Amanda vote, but I thought Jason's question was really a really good one to Mike Bloom, which was, you knew what your win condition was, right? Which is that you are at the bottom of this, the hierarchy of the Black Widow Brigade. If you don't make a move, you are basically, putting, you're hoping that there's luck involved, that other people have not been able to meet their win conditions. And I thought I thought when Mike answered that, Mike's question was his answer was basically I was expecting him to have a little bit more of a defense for his strategy leading up. And it was more like at Final 5, I saw that the writing was on the wall for Jordan. And so we voted Jordan out. And to me, I was like, that wasn't super convincing to me, as it didn't really answer Jason's question of how long have you been playing? How long have you been trying to make moves that will better your position as the person who's at the lowest end of the hierarchy of the Black Widow Brigade? And I felt to me, it wasn't a super satisfying answer. And so when I'm not upset that Mike won. I think I can see again, I think the most impressive thing he does all game is to get everybody else to give him fire tokens in the Brigade so that he can buy an idol. Cause I thought that he was at some point, I thought he was probably Amanda, because then he has an idol or whatever. And it's not. He convinced everybody else to give up their power in the game and give it to him so that he can survive. And really in that move, the other thing he did is secure the Black Widow Brigade majority moving forward. I think that that's the vote that it swaps from them being in the minority to them being in the majority. Yeah. And I think that that's a very impressive thing to put in your resume. So I'm not mad that Mike won. I just also thought I actually didn't think the answer to Jason was super strong. And I thought that, I don't know, I just felt like Amanda had much more control over the game and had a much clearer focused strategy from the beginning. But also I can't fault someone for their strategy being changed when they get called out as being part of the Mafia. But also I feel it was his own behavior that got him called out as the Mafia. So as the Brigade, I don't know.
Yeah. And but I think it is tough because like again, my first watch through it, just casually watching through before I was even taking notes on it, was like, okay, this makes sense. And I guess it does still make sense, right? Like if I were on the jury, I probably would vote for Mike in this case, just because
Really?
you've seen, I mean, I've seen, like, from what I've
You would have been
seen
able to
as a
see?
juror, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to see what Amanda did as much, and it seems like a more quiet game. Whereas with Mike, at least, like, if it's taking the perspective that I had through this podcast, I'm throwing my hands up like, Mike looks so guilty. You look, just get rid of him, do something. And he did seem really guilty. Again, I'm not used to Mike having a bunch of questions, and I think that it was interesting because, to me, the Mike that we saw on episode 9 on This Is How We Do It, or This Is How We Did It,
Yeah.
he that to me looked like I was watching Mike Bloom. But in the game, especially early on in the game, where he had a lot of questions, he seemed very confused. That to me felt very off, with Mike. But maybe he was just so obvious in the game that he was Brigade in general. But I don't
See,
I don't
to me
know.
though, I think that like being
Yeah,
the person who's like so easily clocked as the Brigade, the it then is like it has to be up to the other brigaders to blend in so well that
yeah,
that the vote is able to like stay off of you have to be able to be shifting the target so that the conversation isn't, as Josh tried to do in the last round, to say, I'm taking out my headphones, let's not talk about it, let's just vote.
yeah,
Right? Like Mike, we all are going to vote for Mike, we all should vote for Mike, so let's just do that. the you're then relying on everybody else as like being the person who's out in front, which again, I don't like. That's then the position you're in. You have to play from that position, and kudos if you can get the jury to vote for you. I just think it's more impressive to not be the person who's out in front and still be trying
totally.
to blend in and trying to make sure that the big target, who is now Mike, doesn't get vote, or at least that it doesn't become so obvious that the rest of you are all like you can't just say, okay, well, what about this person? Because then if like they get 5 votes, it's like, oh, I kind of see where like, that was right. So,
Yeah,
um, I don't know. I just think I'm much more impressed by the like, the like backroom controlling a game. I think that like Mike had a pretty good final speech, enough that it like, how many votes did he get? It's a lot. He
all
won
but all
all
but
but
4
4.
of them.
Right.
So I think that means he got
6, 7, 8, 9,
a
10.
lot of votes.
10. There's 16 players,
10
2
votes.
finalists. It was
Yeah.
10-4. That's
Look at
to
that
me, that's
math.
the most shocking thing. I am surprised by Mike win, but I'm also surprised that it was 10-4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was that was a little shocking. But again, I think maybe they just didn't really see the moves Amanda was making. And also Amanda did, like, in the final 2, didn't necessarily expose those moves and say, here's how I was playing the game. Here are the steps I took. Like,
Right.
regardless of
I
how
see
you
it
slice.
and they're not, and you have to at the end
Exactly. But I think based
explain it.
on everything we saw, that she did so much. And but I'm always of the mind that, like, whoever wins, like, what does he mean to deserve to win a game, especially a game like Black Widow Brigade?
Sure.
Look, if I were in the game, I'd be coming for the win, but we're all winners. It's not
Uh
how you win or lose; it's how you play the
yeah.
game, or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that's
If
I
I
don't
mean,
know if
if
I
we
believe
back
that.
up to this last episode,
Yeah,
we have the Black Widow Brigade and we have Josh. And so Karishma goes out at the final 3. She's voted out by both them, which
yeah,
makes sense because she's the second
she's
highest
powerful,
right. So if she just gets to the end, she wins.
right?
She just
As
has to
Natalie
not
Bolton.
she just needs to not be there with Parvati. So
Mhm.
great move. And then she also was able to, or yeah, and she also had
She
an idol, right? She
Exactly.
idoled that Allie, which I thought was like, again, impressive by Krishma. And
Yeah,
then like Allie going out, I thought like Allie, if she gets to the end, is I think
queen.
Allie almost played the game that like I was sort of like hoping people would see in Dr. Manatee, of like it's in front of it's in front of everybody and it's behind the screen. And so I think that Allie wins if she gets to the end for sure. Um Josh forgets to use the slam down save, which is so unfortunate. I guess he just like
It's
didn't
so
realize that
sad.
they were still medevacing. I think he thought that
Yeah,
at this stage of the game it was just votes because everybody knew who
right.
the. But so I feel bad. I kind of feel like a little. I wonder if there's a little bit of like, ooh, we should have checked in if he was going to use it.
And but also I have the question of like
He couldn't use it.
what changes if he
Well,
uses it?
so who does he probably vote for? Who does he vote out? He might vote. So who in the 3-person, remember when they split up into tribes again and you have Josh, Karishma, and Mike tells Josh he's in the brigade, right? Or he doesn't.
Yeah.
Karishma does
He
not.
does. Karishma,
I
we
think
have to talk about that.
so. I think Karishma gets voted out by Josh if Josh uses
Wow.
his Slamtown save, right? Maybe he felt pretty good with Allie. Jordan has already been voted out. He told Mike he would like be fine working with him so long as he admitted to him he was in the brigade. I don't really see why he votes. Maybe he takes out Amanda, but it's between Amanda and Karishma, I think, at that point.
I assume Allie would have been taken out there though, because Josh was taken out right before the vote where Karishma played her idol and then took out Allie. So let's assume that Josh is just added to that equation. I'll assume that Karishma's playing her idol.
But Karishma might be out of the game because she gets taken out on the. Oh no, nobody gets taken out on the medevac. Right.
No.
In my head, I'm thinking somebody else gets taken out in medevac, and that's not how that works.
I don't know how it works.
No, it
But
doesn't work. I'm thinking it's like an idol. We're like, oh, the next person with the most votes goes on, but it's not. It's a medevac. It's totally different. So
I assume that Josh was also waiting to use his Slamtown save in response to the vote, assuming that he didn't think that the medevac was a thing.
I don't think he can use it as an idol though.
Who knows? I don't.
Anyway,
look, I have to.
Anyway.
This is the rule book.
And then let me go. I want to the end of this episode. Jordan
Please.
is the last member of the brigade. He's in this final episode, and I think he's making such a good point. And it is so. I found it hard to watch Karishma just say no, I'm not listening, because the reason Karishma gets voted out of final 3 is exactly what Jordan was trying to say, which is if you vote me out, you are the next person who everybody needs to get out. So the two of us and somebody else, which, they still have to convince one other person, but the two of us should be working with somebody else, because otherwise you will be voted out in this game, right? Is his point there?
He was saying, girl, you're in trouble.
He was basically saying, girl, you're in trouble, but he couldn't get a word in. He couldn't get it. And you can see the like buzzer goes like, I was like, hey, time to vote. And Jordan is just like, oh, I didn't have any time. Like, there's no time. I couldn't get my like point out. I did feel like quite bad for him, but I mean, he's Parvati, so like it makes sense. But
yeah.
But
I guess there's always the question of like, I guess I could see that world. I don't know. I like to see. I did appreciate Jordan being called out by Dr. Amanda and by Allie and I think it kind of just. What's interesting is that they did sort of just pick off. They tried to pick off from the top of the brigade down, and that's sort of what happened. So
they had to pick the two people who, for sure, could just beat their win condition is just to get to the end with other brigaders, right? So that makes total sense. I think that like in that is Karishma just hoping sort of that like somebody takes her, or she lucks. I mean, she knows she has this idol, so is she like thinking like, well, if they don't vote me next round, but that's the last time to use the idol, so that doesn't make any sense. But like, isn't she just totally screwed up? So isn't the move to try and convince somebody else to like, it's the meat. She needs Jordan as a meat shield, right? Is what she. But
I mean, I could see a world. So we know here's a tweet from Isaiah, aka 8Ball. Watching Black Widow Brigade, Karishma is a queen, sobbing gif happening there. And you know what? I will say this, that she came so close that if I'm Karishma, like I hope that she's not beating herself up over.
I don't think she is.
But I also would say that like the only thing that just if we're results oriented, the only thing that didn't work out for her was just being taken at the end by either Mike or Dr. Amanda. So maybe there was something she could have said to convince Dr. Amanda or convince Mike to take her, but they would have lost.
But she
They
can't
would've
because then
lost.
they would have lost. So her only move is to like at the final to create some sort of argument that it makes sense to like not be like to not be keeping around to just keep Jordan in the game.
But
Right?
Grace, this
You could have
is where
used Josh to form a 3, but like, you know, Josh was not going to vote with Jordan, so I don't know.
Grace, this is where I think you're completely wrong, because Karishma's commitment to the bit is unmatched. Karishma would not admit her role throughout. Karishma was
Yeah.
consistent in this lie.
Mhm.
Someone
Took
on
her
the
role.
edge was pretending to be her, took her role. If I was going skydiving, something I probably wouldn't want to do, and Karishma was there and said, Matt, let's do this, I would go skydiving with her. If I needed heart surgery, I'm sorry, Dr. Amanda. If I need brain surgery, sorry, Dr. Amanda, I'm going to Karishma because she is committed. So all I'm saying is I believe in Karishma enough to somehow pull this one out. Maybe like bamboozle them, throw in some razzle dazzle, some magic,
Yes.
some chaos Karishma, and take
Ooh.
home the win. I could have seen it. I could have seen it.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun for Karishma to have been the winner of Black Widow Brigade, but
It would have
nevertheless.
been. It was a long shot.
Maybe I'm just upset that a man won Black Widow Brigade.
I am too, actually.
I think I just figured it out. Sorry, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're
I
listening.
think that's a large part of it too. It's just
Yeah.
like the sad, and then also seeing episode 9. Like if we didn't have episode 9, it would have been like that much more okay. But then you see how much work Amanda put in, where she's like, let me tell you,
And
I've
Allie,
played
I
these
know.
test games. I'm
I
going to
know.
tell you how this works. And then Mike Bloom, dad takes home the win. Mike, we love you, but you've got to go.
I thought this
bro.
was a feminist game.
I thought so too, but I guess
only
not.
women can win.
And
That's
that
okay.
could have been that could have been Karishma's argument at the end. It was a
True.
long day. I mean,
True.
it was a long day. All you had to, and there was a bottle of wine.
I think
that
it was more than a
finished,
bottle of wine.
A few.
When
a
you
few
asked, when
White
you said
Claws.
earlier, like, do you think Karishma's beating herself up? I don't think Karishma beat herself, but I think her hangover beat her up a little bit the next day. Probably.
No, she was fine. Yeah. I believe that those were. I think it was all. Here's what I'll say about Karishma.
Mhm.
I'll give her all of the credit in the world. I think that all of her alcohol, I think she swapped it all out for water.
Smart.
Like I think that
Smart.
the bottle of wine was full of water because she seemed fine. She seemed fine enough at the end.
Yeah.
But then I'll also say that the moments that her internet broke up, that's another thing I thought was really interesting. I think she did that on purpose.
She had to persevere.
Time.
Oh, whoa, that's interesting.
I think she said to her husband, "Hey, go up and play
unplug the router."
I don't know if I don't know if it was that. I think it was like go and play like Among Us, go
restart
play
the
like
modem,
stream Netflix and Hulu at the same time.
Wow.
And she did it. I mean, that's my conspiracy.
The emergent strategy, just have bad internet connection.
And it works for some people, aka Karishma.
Yeah.
An icon.
Yeah. She is
robbed G.
I mean,
according to the tweets.
I mean, I know we get the like reveal of who's in the Black Widow Brigade at the end of episodes. That's at the end of episode 8, right? But what a phenomenal group that they like lucked into. Like, I mean, I don't think there would have been like a bad, you know, everybody who played, I really enjoyed watching them play. But like this crew is just like so fun to see. Amanda, Jordan, Mike, Allie, Karishma. Like I love that there's a survivor in there. You know, I think that they have a little bit of a leg up with like Dr. Amanda having played some of these test games, and being in there. But like, you know, it's okay. That could have happened if, you know, Dan or Jason was in there. So like, I think it's okay. But it's such a fun group.
And if you're watching the YouTube version, you could check out the graphic of all the people and their roles laid out here. But, you know, one thing I would say is that thinking about the brigade, and I don't know if I probably didn't even say anything about this on the first episode if I did, but I guess like there was something in the back of my head, at least, that like, so thinking about this game, there were 2 people from Survivor between Lirsa and Karishma. And I guess it's kind of hard because there are only two of them.
Yeah.
But you kind of it's not ridiculous that one of them would be like good and one of them would be evil, but that was still hard to suss out. But for me, the thing that was interesting and kind of where maybe Dr. Amanda had a little bit less cover in this is that like you have a handful of people who play test games. So if it was the Survivor Philly people, that would be Jason Curtis Rivera, Dr. Amanda, Lexi, I also believe would have played in the test game. And then of course, Dan. And so my assumption was that one of them would be in the brigade, but probably not more than one of them because they've played, but I had no clue who.
I think it's just random. I think Alex would have rolled with whoever he got.
That's a good question.
I don't think he assigned roles. I don't. I mean,
really?
I would almost bet something very valuable on it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like what? Do you have any fire tokens?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 fire
Slam
tokens.
Town save you don't want to use?
I'd use a Slam Town save on you any day, Matt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any
night you need a Slam Town save just to make sure you don't get medevac during your sleep. I got you.
Have gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah. Don't forget. Actually, I do have a bad memory and I might forget, just like Josh. So
yeah, I have a Jersey gut, so sometimes it's really good, but other times it just you know how it is. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I think everything was randomized. I think it's all on the up and up. If you talk to Alex, let me know if it's. I think it has to be random.
I mean, one thing I'll say now on the podcast, dropping some news randomly in the middle of the episode, is that I will be interviewing, sitting down with the one, the only Alex Gardner, creator of the Black Widow Brigade, and asking him all of our questions, getting the secrets about how this game worked. And, you know, you might think that he exposed everything on episode 9, but no. There's more.
No.
There are lots more secrets.
Okay, so ask him if they. I think they randomized the rules. I think that in these games, I think you sort of have to, from but maybe not. Maybe for a YouTube TV show, you don't have to do it. You can assign them, but I don't. I don't think so.
Are you? I mean, I think
Learsa would be very.
Laws?
Learsa would be quite mad, I think, to find out that she'd been assigned Amber Mariana.
I think let me go in a different direction here, assuming that they were assigned. If they were assigned, I think they were assigned very well. I think they were assigned fairly. Like, I think it was a good balance. I think that we'll have to find out. But if you are listening and have questions about the game, the show, I don't know if there's a game within a game, but I just want to say that phrase, the game within a game. Tweet me at Matt Scott GW. That's a place where you could find me.
It is Mafia within Survivor, so it is a little bit of game within a game.
Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. I'm glad that we could work that in. Cool.
Did you during the game, did you ever buy Allie's like, I'm just gonna be like away from my computer during this time? Did you ever buy her like?
I didn't Allie, there's so much
emergent strategy.
Yeah, here's the thing with Allie, and I think this was our in the first episode, I believe it was LaTonya who said that Allie's eyes, you can't trust Allie's eyes.
Oh, the whole first podcast that we did, the first review, I was like, Allie is in the Mafia, Allie's in the Brigade. You gotta get Allie out. No, and then at the end of the episode, I'm like, oh, maybe Allie is a pair with Jess. Because I talked about this, like, she was either like trying to build a connection with Jess, or she was trying to like put her in her pocket a little bit, being like, hey, you're my little vote, like vote with me, like you trust me, like I trust. I'm saying publicly, I trust you. I'm gonna put you in my pocket, right here, and then and at the end of the episode, I was like, oh, maybe it's because like Allie knows that Jess is her partner and she's trying to like indicate to Jess. I was like, maybe she's not the Mafia. And then I was like, I should have known she was the Brigade the whole time. I should have stuck with my gut like Allie does. Allie sticks with
Yeah. And again, the people, Philippe with the shout out that Allie Lasher is always flawless and always a queen. TBH. In case you thought that we were lying, look at the tweet. The tweet is literally right here. It's right here. So just saying, Don't
Can I say I have a friend? I have a friend of
us.
mine who, and my favorite expression, our favorite expression to say is like, "Can I be
Uh-oh.
honest with you?" Which implies that I've been lying to you up until this point. It's
Mm,
my favorite phrase. So
yeah.
like, "Can I be honest with you?" Like, yeah,
I'm
I thought this was
hilarious.
really fun show, which implies that I've been lying about whether I thought it was fun up to this point. So anyway,
It's fine.
if I'm being
At
honest with
that
you,
at that point, I feel the same way at times when I hear that phrase, but I just say like I'm just thankful that I'm finally getting told the truth.
finally,
Hopefully it lasts
I
though.
can open up with you. Yeah,
Like I only have so much. What do
yeah,
you want to be honest about, Grace?
yeah. What do I want to be honest about? I don't quite understand how Amanda's vote steal didn't work.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'm very confused actually about what Amanda was doing with that vote steal. So I mean I get how Amanda had the vote steal obviously with her role as Suri, but which
So,
classic
so
Suri and the vote steal.
I
But
thought Amanda
yeah,
used it on the vote where
whose
they're
vote did
gonna
she try to steal?
Josh Wigler's, and I thought it
And
happened in the vote where they were going to vote out. Everyone was going to vote out Mike, and then Mike played his idol and saved
mhm,
himself, and Josh ended up getting voted out. And so I either have the vote wrong, that this is not the time she tried to steal Josh's vote, and she stole Josh's vote, tried to get Josh voted out, and Josh didn't get voted out, or the fact that Mike got the most amount of votes and then canceled them, and then Josh goes home, doesn't count as successfully voting out somebody with the steal vote. So I'm a little bit confused at that.
well, so yeah, so Amanda stole Josh's vote and presumably used it to vote against Josh.
I presume. I
And that
presume.
and you have so that would have been night 6. But yeah, I so many
Oh,
questions. But
uh,
that's kind of what that was I was thinking about the same thing. That
yeah.
was also the night that everyone gave a token to
So
Mike.
I I believe so.
Yes.
But I could just have all of this mixed up, and that's not the night that like Josh was voted out. But I do think that is I don't know.
Wait, no, that's not.
So it's not. It
Ooh, you
happened
know
way
what?
earlier.
No, that wasn't the night that Josh was voted
Okay.
out. That must have been the night that that Jess was voted out because the following night Jordan was on the midnight ride, so he was still in the game. Um, but how did she not vote? Okay, so Amanda steals Josh's vote. Josh doesn't get voted out at that vote.
Yeah.
Um, Jess gets voted out. Why? So should Amanda have stolen Josh's vote and voted for Jess? Is that what went wrong there?
Uh, I'm not sure. See. I still do think I I think that is the Josh gets
But
voted
that
out
also
vote.
would have been what she
So the
did.
other thing is in that vote, Jordan gets one vote.
We're gonna get
Did
a lot of DMs from people who played the
I
game
know?
and
I would
watched
love a
about like
voting
this is how it
chart
worked.
from to be publicly available.
Yeah, Alex,
That
mock
would
up
I would
Photoshop that voting chart for
I
us
know
so that we
people who
could.
would be interested in helping. I have a voting chart that's like based off of what like people said in the game. A friend of mine made it, Austin Smith.
Oh,
Great, he's
shout
amazing.
out to Austin.
But it is missing a lot of information because a lot of information wasn't revealed. Which makes sense that during the game you don't you don't want to see who people vote, but you're not going to make that publicly available. But I do wish we got it at the like I would have liked the jury, like I think we only know the jury votes because we asked Alex, but I would have liked
Oh,
something on the
shucks.
screen that said this is who voted for who, or whatever. But
Yeah,
anyway, we're
at
just
some
craving
point.
information, Alex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want the info, and we're gonna get more info. We're
Mhm.
gonna explore more when it comes to this game and what was happening. But so many different twists and turns. I'm almost thinking. So we've talked about Allie a bit. We've talked about Karishma a little bit. Talked about Dr. Amanda. Talked about Mike. we've talked about Jordan a little bit, but in terms of the brigade, anything else that we should touch on, or that anyone else we should talk through?
In these last few episodes are very brigade heavy. Rightfully so. They are the last people in the game, and and then it's their story of how they voted everybody out. I think it's really fun to see that. I want to like commend Alex and the crew from the show of like really cramping down the jury speech stuff, because like I do think that like I feel as a player, Jordan Kalish and I actually like invented a game in this at one point. We played it on Renap, or sorry, not Renap. We played it on Rob as a podcast on the Patreon, as a patron activity. And I always like as a viewer of the show of like something like Survivor and Big Brother, I am so bored by the jury stuff, like by the jury questions and then the final speeches. I do know that like it can sway people, so it's like it seems unfair to like not have it. So I always like the compromise of like, hey, you have a minute. I also love this. I love you have a minute, and also you can just vote before the minute's up if you want. It's like,
oh my gosh.
Did you catch that? Where he's just like, jurors, they're gonna give a minute to pitch. You can listen or you can vote. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's it's intense.
But does that not lead credence to that? Does it matter? Does how much like if people can just vote while Amanda is speaking, she might not even be able to really like. I mean, she has to get it through her questioning, but
well, here's what I would say too when it comes to a final vote like that. And it seems like it was jury questioning as opposed to discussion, which I always think is
three people could ask a question, was it not? That was it.
Yeah.
It was like there's a limited number of questions. Claim them if you want to claim them. Like Aaron kind of started to chime in, and Jordan chimed in and asked a question instead. So Aaron never asked a question.
And Allie got her question in. So
to the detriment of DJ LaBelle Klein.
To the detriment of her relationship with DJ LaBelle Klein, who allegedly, who knows, if we have another season, we'll come back to talking about that stuff, but we could see them in a rival season of Black Widow Brigade, according to Allie. Who knows? That's a possibility. But, I think I always think about that format for a final tribal because I mean, Survivor did make that shift from just the question and answer to the discussion. And I do think a discussion format would have benefited Dr. Amanda in this game. Like if there was a back and forth where Mike's saying something and Amanda's able to say, well, no, here's what I did, like responding and explaining more of the game. That's one of my thoughts. Like I'm always curious, even looking back at Survivor, how certain results might have been different if there was more discussion as opposed to let me ask you questions based on what I know or what I saw, which I guess inherently is limited because people didn't know all of the things that she did and how awesome she was in the game.
Yeah, I mean, call me a hypocrite because like I don't really love the jury question, but I also know that it's like super important. And I'm sitting here being like, I wish Dr. Amanda had been able to like sway the jurors to like.
That's probably where my feelings are coming from. Yeah, but I think that's a big piece of it. On like a completely different note, I'm confused about something, and I heard it multiple times from Mike Boom Boom Bloom, aka Mixmaster Mike, aka Alexis Mateo.
Alexis Mateo. Yeah,
Alexis Mateo. Yeah. He kept what was Mike saying? What was this line that they kept showing? I'm ripping rad on Kalish.
I'm ripping rad.
What the hell? What was he saying? I need a soundbite of this or something.
I need closed captioning.
Wait,
I'm ripping. When would he say this?
While I keep thinking about this.
Yeah.
I oh my god!
It's Mike Bloom.
It's Mike Bloom. Mike Bloom is here. We're getting a run in from
Mike Bloom is here.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, Mike Bloom is the winner. Mike Bloom has entered the chat.
Oh my gosh. Mike Bloom is here. Mike Bloom is getting... Oh, wait. Oh, you just moved your camera. It's
actually
LaTonya.
The spirit of LaTonya.
It's the spirit of Mike Bloom in the like sausage casing of LaTonya. Yes. I'm like, you ever feel like a sausage sometimes? Like you feel like you're kind of like stuffed into your clothes. maybe you're a little bloated, you feel like a sausage. So I kind of like refer to myself as like the sausage casing that
sometimes
contains Mike Bloom.
Sometimes, like when my skin's especially oily or greasy, I do feel like a sausage.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like
How
a
did
sausage.
you know? How did you know?
What about this winner, people? I mean,
look, what are your thoughts on this situation? Because Grace and I, we've talked through it. We feel like Dr. Amanda was robbed, the robbed G.Otis of it all.
I mean, I thought that Dr. Amanda made a very good case, and like, even if statements saying like, essentially, I understand why you all would think that Mike played a better game, but at no time was Dr. Amanda under suspicion by basically anyone. Which I think like keeping yourself under the radar, not needing to use an immunity idol. That type of play is pretty great. And especially in a game like this where the townspeople just got run over by the brigade. Like it was just a crush. There were just brigade people left, and then Josh immediately went through the revolving door. But Dr. Amanda, definitely, I think, had a great case to win this season. I understand, or this season. This season.
Yeah.
I understand why people voted for Mike Bloom. The first reason is because of the patriarchy. The second reason is because
damn patriarchy.
The patriarchy strikes again.
I mean,
this is our second like patriarchy feminist rant, so don't worry.
Good. Yeah, we need it.
Great.
Never enough.
The second reason is just because he did have suspicion on him the entire game. Like he was like completely sussed out by like the second episode. People were like, okay, Mike is in the Mafia. Like, let's just get rid of him. And he was like the Teflon Don. There's something to be said for not being able to take down, like if you come for the king, you best not miss kind of stuff. And I think that's really what kind of like put people over the top in terms of that. Plus, like you can argue that Mike got a villain edit, and everyone likes to root for a villain. Or what is it? Is there such thing as an overdog?
Undercat. I know there's an undercat.
Yeah.
He said
top dog.
He said underdog who becomes an overdog, who's maybe still an underdog. Like that was the end of his like speech. That part was just rambling gold.
I have to say the villain edit thing I agree with, and I actually like part of the reason I really thought that Mike wouldn't win is, he told DJ LaBelle Klein to like kiss his ass, and like this is a thing that like I commend him for being able to sort of like be able to do that and not have it cost him a win, right? Like I think that like there's something said about like Troy votes for him, right? I think if I'm reading correctly. Troy votes for Mike Bloom to win, and Mike Bloom told him to kiss his ass in the game. Like I think that there is something like about that I think is like, I don't know if impressive is the right word, but like, okay, you did it. Like you won people over, because I did think he was getting a villain edit, and so, but that's certainly not how it came across to people in the game. Like I think that we often have these debates about like, we're joking that Amanda got robbed, but I do firmly believe that like Mike deserved to win the game. He convinced the jurors of the game to vote for him to win, and like I thought he wouldn't be able to do it because he was like probably the most aggressive brigade member, and yet he did. So yeah. That's great.
Can we talk about some of the jewels of these 3 episodes that came out?
Run through them. Let's see if Grace and I have touched on them.
Yeah, I would love to know.
We're always happy to revisit.
Okay.
LaTonya, we're just happy to be graced by your presence.
Oh, thank you.
And you have your halo on right now.
I retain my flower crown. I've been wearing it all week.
Since Renap.
Since Renap. I'm just really excited about being the champion of something. And so Grace was there. Cryptic. Grace and I only ever podcast with one another now.
It's true.
That's what I've heard.
It's true. 3 this week. Yeah.
Yep.
You weren't even invited. You just showed up.
No, I did.
This time.
Matt, when you said that we're excited to be graced by LaTonya's presence, are you also LaTonya to be my present? I'm trying to figure out the pun.
I'm LaTonya to be Grace's presence.
Yeah. That's right. Sorry.
Yep. Okay. Can we
highlights?
talk
Yeah,
about
quips, gems.
what?
You want to? You were going to highlight the gems, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because can we talk about how Karishma finished the entire bottle of wine and like was yelling for a White Claw?
Yeah.
And still fully was able to like get to what the final 3 of this game.
Yep.
How impressive is that? I told y'all from the beginning that top, like that high pony, was gonna do some real damage. I enjoyed DJ LaBelle Klein's receipts from his Twitter about whether or not he had said something negative about Karishma when he was covering Survivor Philadelphia.
Yep,
he was deleting.
Yeah. The way that Jess got taken out of the game is my literal nightmare. She got a piece of sand in her eye that could have caused corneal damage, and anytime, like, just the description of something happening to an eye, like, it's just it just fills me with anxiety and dread. I can't do contacts because of like this very thing.
Yeah, I mean, that might be her situation because she already has glasses. So I mean, not great.
That
I hope
freaked
she's
me
okay.
out a lot. The return speeches, the speeches that people gave to get ready.
Let's go into those.
Yeah, let's break them down. I think that the one that's going to go down in history was JCR's.
It's so good. It's
not Josh's. Not Josh's. That
I'm going to get to Josh. I'm going to get to Josh.
Oh, okay.
So JCR essentially was like, this is going to be put on the internet.
Yeah,
you're all idiots. And
really
I mean, like, it was hilarious, but also true. I love it when a person chooses violence and then retracts said violence all in like one breath. Because afterwards he was like, I'm just kidding. You're not idiots. You're not stupid. Everything's great. I love you.
I know. It was so interesting looking around too, because you're like, I was very much trying to understand what the reaction to that is.
Yeah. How do you even react to that?
It didn't seem like a big response. It seems like a okay.
I felt for Jason, and this is the same way I felt for Jordan during the vote that he gets voted out, which is that like Jason's making such a good point that nobody is going to listen to. Exactly. Right? He's like, I have an idol, and we need to vote somebody back in who like has some way of like surviving something.
Right.
Like, so please, like, just please put me back in. And it's like,
but like, the way that it was presented was hilarious.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that Aaron's speech was probably the most convincing, just in terms of like the number of arguments per sentence that he was able to make. Josh went for the hearts and minds approach.
Yeah.
And he went with love. He just talked about how he loved everyone, and in the end, love wins. Apparently,
I do agree. I have to say, it's probably a better strategy than calling everyone dummies.
It's a pretty good strategy. It's probably a better strategy than calling everyone idiots.
Yeah. I mean, okay, first of all, you have to admire a good like pipe bomb promo. He dropped it. Jason dropped it. It was beautiful. And I will say too, the other thing that I love that I will not be able to get out of my head soon, just speaking of Jason, is the sound design. It's sound design, people. It's not just a soundtrack. It is sound design. It is art.
The reveal, the brigade reveal.
Yeah,
like they played a bunch of times. Is like, listen, Josh, listen to me. Allie's in the brigade. And it's just like, it's like cutting. It's like, boom. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, it's really well done.
Wow.
He should score whatever next ridiculous Star Wars project there is.
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as a non-ridiculous Star Wars project, especially in these days. JCR should score it. Like, I'm putting it out there. I'm calling it now.
Call your shot.
He should do the score. John Williams can Zoom with him to discuss.
Well, I don't even know who John
Jason,
Williams
don't
is,
call him a dummy. Don't call him an idiot. If you don't know line
or
John.
Brony or
that's
moron.
His name, right, Grace?
There is a very famous composer. I often get.
You said John Williams, Mozart.
I often get a couple of there's it's John. Has he done Star Wars though? Yeah, he has. Yes. He's been associated with
that's
Steve
what he's
Spielberg
known for.
And George Lucas. Well, Star Wars, Jaws, Harry Potter, Jurassic
E.T.
Park, Indiana Jones, E.T.,
Right off the
Schindler's
top.
List, Home Alone,
Yeah.
like
Home
Superman.
Alone,
He's got
Schindler's
some
List,
stuff.
Home Alone.
You don't remember? You guys don't listen to the Schindler's List soundtrack a lot?
I've never heard
It's
that.
actually
Well,
a
I've never
beautiful
heard that in
soundtrack.
the
It actually
same.
is a beautiful soundtrack.
It's a
I've
beautiful
never
soundtrack.
seen those two movies next to each other.
No, I've never. No, they
any
don't make sense
listing.
next to one another.
I
That's not.
think I saw them at it was like a drive-in. It was like double header. It was
Oh, no.
Schindler's List
in the 70s, Grace.
No,
You haven't heard of drive-ins? They're back because
know
of the
what
pandemic.
drive-ins are
motto.
totally back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're I guess, but not with Home Alone followed by Schindler's List.
They don't
No, that
show
part I
like,
was doing a bit.
most of them don't show
Oh.
modern movies. The one in Chicago
Yeah.
that's closest to me shows like old movies, like
Yeah, same.
Jaws or Home
Yeah.
Alone.
You're not in Chicago.
I'm not.
No, you're not in Chicago. You're
Okay.
in a drive-in movie in the 1970s.
Oh,
and
got it. I see where
That's
you're
what it's
going.
all about. Yeah.
So, okay,
I'm trying to paint a picture here.
The other speeches, you can paint your
Yeah,
picture
yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Karen was just generally hilarious, I thought.
Gotta
Just
love
very
Karen.
nice, but also funny, and just like, let me in, let me back in.
Man,
fought so hard in
big
this
apologies
game.
to Karen from Kent. She's not Brigade. Like I was like, and even the last I was like, maybe, and like, no, she can't be, and she's not, and she's amazing, and she's like fantastic to like. It's just so fun to watch. Cameron Canada is the best, and she got to use her power in the game, which I was like very
Yes.
excited about. So yeah.
Karen
Yeah.
is really just like a favorite of the podcast. I think
Mhm.
everyone should know that.
Yeah. And
Especially
you know
Karen.
what? And Karen put in so much work in the game, and I just think that that is definitely going underappreciated, but not by us, because shout out now we're doing it.
So heavily
doing it.
targeted from the get.
Yeah, that's the thing from basically the beginning, which is unfortunate. Like when you enter a game and people say like, "Oh, we need to watch that person," like that sucks. I mean, that would have happened to definitely would have happened to Jordan Kalish if he wasn't Brigade.
It did, even though he wasn't Brigade. Like
It did, even though he wasn't
yeah.
Brigade,
Yeah,
right?
people call him out.
Yeah.
Right
He's
away.
just generally sus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost done. Shannon really went, selfless on this one. Just like very brochacho centric, very much like Josh is the one, put Josh back in. Like I give all of my energy to Josh. And I admire someone who is
All
that
of the
selfless.
vibes.
I would literally never do it. But
To me, it reminded me a lot of the Manson family type of vibes. That's why I was really starting to get at LaTonya. I picture you.
That's
in
the
a
picture
house in
you were
the
painting?
Hollywood
Got it.
Hills, very confused about what's going on around you.
I'm so confused.
And backing away slowly.
Yeah, very
But
slowly.
that's kind of where I love the fact that this is what I'll say about Shannon in this game, and I probably said it last time, but I'll say it again, is just that it is so awesome to see people who are so invested in the game and like bought into it and like playing the game, and the emotions are in it and everything else. Like you, in wrestling terms, like sell for the game, like you sell for it, like, because that just makes the game even better when you're really invested. And Chen did an awesome job with this, and I'm impressed that like even though we didn't hear a ton from Shannon in that episode, in that spot, like she was still the source of the title of episode 8, bigger than the game. So shout out to her.
I know Shannon was like, her thing was like, Josh got me back in the game, so I'm gonna get Josh back in the game, and was like a little bit like, yep, this is my journey here. Like it would have been so interesting for Shannon to come back in the game with the 2 variance votes. I think that like it's one of the things I think like as an ability that was in the game that we didn't get to see, I'm like maybe the most intrigued by that stuff playing out. So I'm a little bit disappointed like we didn't get a single variance vote. It's like, okay, you'll have to revote. I think it's like a very interesting like power that I'm disappointed it didn't play out. But it would have been at the expense of Shannon and Josh's blooming friendship that he's watched Community now. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then finally Jess, who filed an official complaint. And I adore Jess for doing this. Like, I absolutely love a woman who's just like, I would like to speak to the manager immediately. Whoever like is in cahoots with the brigade can go F themselves right in the A. And it was very much that energy.
It's like, Jess, this energy.
I also love Jess. I thought Jess was I think Jess was in a pretty tough position, being sort of like the last person to sort of be on the outs at the before Josh comes back in. So
yeah,
I would have liked to see, but I think it would have been pretty much a revolving door.
Yeah, it would have been whoever came back that wasn't a brigade member would have been a revolving door.
Yeah, but it was a good thought. Like we talked about this before. Jason Rivera had his idol and the chance of doing something magical with it. Josh had the Slamtown save. We also had Shannon with the variance was another thing. He did a good job. It was late. LaTonya, Josh.
Could he have Slamtown saved himself?
So he could have, and we talked through this a little bit. I think he just thought that now that everybody was brigade left, I think in his head he just sort of thought, well, there's no they can't medevac, but they could medevac him. He just sort of forgot, and I'm a bit surprised they didn't follow up with him to be like, hey, you because I think it might have also been the last time you could use it. But as Matt pointed, I kind of in my head I was like, oh, he just had a chance to get rid of someone, but he didn't really, because he probably just gets voted out anyway, because it's not like when you Slamtown save somebody else goes out, you just are saving yourself from being medevaced, right?
Yeah.
So this is where actually Jason coming back with the idol is probably actually more powerful than Josh. I was very excited when Josh got back in. I obviously love Josh, but I was like, oh, he has these saves, he could he has a save, he could make it through a little bit further and knock some people out. And then when I sort of remembered this, that he doesn't knock somebody out with the Slamtown save, oh, I actually probably might have, I think Jason might have been really interesting to see come back, because he could idle someone, right? The first vote they get out Jordan, I guess, then they just medevac Jason. So what does he actually?
Yeah,
it's all the same. It's all pretty much.
I think that at some point you kind of things just kind of
work out
too far down where it's okay, well, there's not a ton you could do, but I mean, Shannon could have mixed some things up. There was still some potential for some different results based on who came back and what they did with the different.
But I guess even if Shannon comes back, they seem to be pretty dead set on voting Jordan. They vote Jordan out, then they medevac Shannon. So it's there's not a ton of room for somebody who's going to come back in this situation. I guess maybe Jess as Dr. Joe. I guess. Yeah. Anyway.
With that little stethoscope.
Yeah.
She should have had a stethoscope.
Did you notice, was it in these episodes that Jess was calling herself a title other than Dr. Joe? Did I miss this? So remember when
maybe we missed it.
Remember when I said that? Remember when I said that it was weird that Dr. Joe is the only non-Survivor player in the game? He's the only player who's never played Survivor. And I'm pretty sure Jess calls herself something that's not Dr. Joe during the game.
Huh.
Anyway.
Is there another doctor who works behind the
Maybe
scenes?
I'm making it up, but you know what?
Dr. Phil?
Chat. I'm going to message
Dr. Oz? Dr. Amanda?
Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up. I think I'm podcasting and watching too many things.
That's okay. I mean, aren't we all? It's fine.
Wait,
I'm sure you're right, and it's just something that we missed.
What's this podcast? Is this the Wrestling Wrap Up?
Is it?
I don't know anymore. Well, there we go. Anyway. So we have all the different people and the roles and the things. LaTonya, was there anything else that any other big highlights that you are fierily passionate about?
I said OMFG. I wrote OMFG Dr. Applebee's because I thought it was hilarious that when the invitation to Philadelphia came around from Dr. Amanda, it was just we'll go to Applebee's.
I like that. That's your take. Yeah. I mean, that's Karishma's favorite restaurant.
Is it? Okay, that makes sense then.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen, this is a pretty fit. It's kind of it's a pretty funny bit from the show. They get Applebee's as a reward, and Karishma kind of is like freaking out, and then it's like became kind of like a RHAP meme that like Karishma loves Applebee's.
A world meme, a global meme. Because look, I've been to Applebee's and Karishma, you're really convincing in this game. You're really committed, but it's nothing against Applebee's, but everything against Applebee's.
I've been to one Applebee's
come
in my whole
sponsor
life.
us.
Good for you that you've only been to one, Grace.
Yeah.
And it was basically because it was the only restaurant around.
Wait, Applebee's, maybe we could get a sponsorship and go to Applebee's with you.
Maybe if we were able to, get a free understanding of what the Applebee's is all about, then we could promote it and, they could be our sponsor, Applebee's.
Do they have shark bowls? Is that an Applebee thing?
I think that is
Applebee. Do they call it Applebee when it's just one?
Applebee.
Yes, I would think so.
Applebee sounds like a Spice Girl.
That's true.
Wow, there's not. I thought there's no Applebee's in my city. I'd have to drive 2 hours to the nearest Applebee's.
Maybe we should, instead of see, LaTonya, in case you missed it, everyone's been calling Grace Little Caesars, but I actually think that you could be
literally only Matt.
Dr. Tim Hortons, maybe. Is that could that be a thing? I know that's Canadian.
Tim Hortons is kind of like, it's not very good. Just so you know.
I mean, Applebee's.
But Dr. Tim Hortons is very good. She's great.
Anyway. Okay.
Have we lost the train?
Yeah.
We lost?
I don't know. What were we even on?
Yeah. So I was just going to give my last thought, which is that Karishma saying everyone needs to suffer in life after she plays her immunity idol is the moment. It is the mantra. It is everything. Because that was something apparently that Karishma wanted to say in real life on Survivor Philadelphia, I think.
Yeah.
And Allie being like, "You want me to suffer in my actual life?" Was
Survivor Island of the Idols was the season, by the way. Don't at us. But yeah, that was a moment.
Yeah. Allie being like, "I'm pretty sure I'm a good person. I thought we were friends."
That felt really real for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know what to I didn't know what to think.
I didn't know what to think, but it is like a slice of drama that I thought I would introduce to the to the crew.
Yeah, that was everybody should suffer. It's a pretty wild
Everybody
take.
Should suffer.
Pretty bold take. I think I personally disagree, but
that sounds like something my Dungeons and Dragons character would say.
Yeah, it does actually. Everybody should suffer. Yeah,
I will be contrarian and agree with Karishma, but I don't agree that everyone should suffer. But I agree. I support Karishma in
all
decisions.
things.
It's like you have to go through hardships to appreciate. Is it that? Is it maybe that? No. Probably
sure.
Not. Anyway,
could be.
Yeah, but either way, she's rocking that falafel, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, true. She had the best time of everyone, I think. Just overall,
I hope so. Just until the end.
Yeah, I think Mike probably had the best time.
Yeah, Mike definitely enjoyed himself. Ended up winning the game. I guess 3 cheers for Mike. You got to get behind a champion at the end.
Go Mike. Go Mike. Go Mike. Go,
there we go.
Mike.
3 cheers indeed. 4 even.
Hip hip hooray.
Once we're to say, right?
Huzzah for Mike.
Woo! We did it. Well, anything else about the season that we want to talk about before? You know what?
Can I say it was so fun, and I know apparently there was like some confusion. Allie Lasher, I think, didn't know this was going to be like on the internet, which is surprising because Jason literally told her during the game. But I do just want to say, like, we did get like comments from people reach out to us, and I think like people who played on the show and quite liked it. And I think a lot of us live in the world of like we podcast about stuff, and I know that this was like a bit of a unique experience for like some of the people who podcast about stuff are now in like the seat of like, but it was so long ago and I don't remember, and like I don't have all the information, so I do just really like appreciate that like we've gotten pretty good feedback. And I hope like the people who are listening, like, you know, if I'm like being critical of a decision you made or whatever, it's like, you know, it's all part of the fun of like, you know, playing in a real game. I would play terribly in one of these games. So like, you know, you know, throw rocks at glass houses or whatever. I think I'm doing that. So thanks for like, you know, listening in if you're like our player and like, you know, you've been listening to us. I think it's like cool that you like folks like put yourself out there on this like YouTube show. And I think Alex did a great job. It was very well edited and fun to watch. So I think it's neat that I got to watch like a bunch of people who like, I probably didn't know a ton of them when they played. And now it's like, I like know a bunch of them and some of them I can call my friends. So it was really cool to watch a bunch of them get to play
and
on
isn't
the
that
show.
all what we're here for? The friendships at the end of the day
and the suffering.
No,
and the suffering.
That's not what I'm here for.
You know, just to add to that, Grace, I think that was a great point, and it's been great to hear from everyone who's been on part of the show about just their thoughts on the show and even on the podcast and all that. It's been all positive. So thanks everyone who's reached out and who's shown us some love, because it is a very stressful thing when you're talking about a bunch of people who will probably actually be listening and might be mad if you say something really mean, even though we love all of you very dearly. LaTonya, well, I was gonna say you were so I want to pass the mic.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Thank you to Silent Podcasts and to you, Matt, for reaching out and asking me if I wanted to be a part of this project. I now have full context for the picture that was put up months ago by Josh Wigler when he was just like super excited to see Shannon in a room, like a Zoom room. And I didn't understand it until this happened. So that was great. I've met the majority, like virtually the majority of the people, or maybe half actually. I can't say majority.
Popular.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. But like people that I like love and admire on this show. And everyone did a really great job. And JCR is right. This show is now on the internet. And Grace is right about like putting yourself out there. It made me uncomfortable. It's like when I was watching to see that underneath like this video was our coverage of the show and like our video. So it can be unnerving. Everybody did a really great job and everyone had a lot of fun, I think, especially Mike. So thank you all so much for your feedback, your DMs, your like following along with us on Twitter, all the participants. It's been really special to do this. And I guess I just have one question, which was a question posed earlier today, which is, will there be some type of reunion panel?
I'm glad that you asked this question, LaTonya, because I have this tweet pulled up from Chris Whitaker, who asks that question. Silent Podcasts, are you hosting a reunion show? And I love the idea. I love a question with an idea. Maybe we could get a digital Airbnb in digital California, which would be kind of expensive for flights for all of us. But if it's digital, I don't really know how that works. The answer is stay tuned, because I think it might happen, but we will see. This Friday am going to be interviewing. And see, now I'm just exposing everything. But I'll be interviewing Alex Gardner, the creator.
You already did say that today.
Show. I know I said it. I don't know if I said it was Friday. I don't like to say dates because I know I did, Grace. It's weird though, because like this is coming out on Friday, so people might not have time to send any questions or anything. But we will reach out to people other ways for questions for Alex. But yeah, hopefully we could figure out when to make this reunion show happen, because we want the chaos. We want chaos charisma. We want I'm gonna stop. I was gonna go for more.
You were gonna go through everyone's name, and
I was really gonna go through everyone's name. Joker Josh. A lot of alliteration. Lots of great pro wrestling names.
Magic Mike.
Messy Mike. Magic Mike.
Magic Mike.
Boom, boom, boom.
I said a boom, boom, boom.
We don't own that song.
But so we'll see. Maybe there will be a reunion, but if there is one, we'll be there.
Cool.
All right.
Do you think, though, on a different question, that there'll be a season 2 of this?
I
journey?
hope so. I think it would be fun. I think it's like the format worked. I think throw in 16 new people, and I think it could be fun. I know that it probably took a lot of time to like edit and put together, and they produced something that was like really fun. I think that if like Alex is up for it now, and who the folks he's got working with him, then I think I keep saying that. I don't know actually if it's more than just that. I assume there's credits, right? Because like Jason's doing some stuff.
There are other people.
So there are other people.
You.
So I think it would be fun. I hope so. It might just be one of I feel like TV production these days is more like Westworld comes out like every 4 years. I feel like that might be our Black Widow Brigade. Might come out in a couple of years, but
I think I was really thinking about this question that I just asked. So that's fun to think of your own questions. But I was thinking about this and about the role of the roles. Like, would we see the same roles? And I think something that'd be fun would be seeing mostly the same roles, but with some twists. Like, there was a tease of Karishma having a role in this game. Maybe Lirsa also has a role in this second season. But I think with some of these, I don't want to call them twists, but some like small tweaks and changes where you just switch out different roles, that's a way of keeping it fresh. Maybe you're looking at it like, oh, we didn't love the role of the
Twinnies didn't do
Alexis
much this
Maxwell.
time,
I don't
right?
know.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point, and at the same time, I just also wonder like Detective Dean didn't do anything, and like pretty much,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
sort of had a role in the like story of the game, but like didn't do much. And so like I think what's fun about this game is that like you're not always going to get out that character first. Like you might hit the Twinnies first, and then they're both
Yeah.
gone, right? Like I think that like what's so
Uh-huh.
fun about this game is that, even if you play this game with all the same people again, like I don't know that like that's what we want, but like that game would look into where they like are shuffled up in the roles again. It's an entirely like different game, a different story that happens. So like I think there's so much like it's not just like, oh, we're going to see these people back on Survivor. It's like, oh, there's also these roles that can get mixed up, and the chance of some of them going out or whenever in the order that they go out, and then how that influences the rest of the game can be really dynamic. And so I think that like there might have been some roles that seem in this version of the game to be very like not very prominent, but maybe in a test version we see somebody, one of these roles that like kind of get like the Amber and Rob situation. They both basically just go out almost immediately, and then there's none of this like we're finding each other. Oh, we found each other. Here are my fire tokens. Okay, you buy an idol. Like we didn't see any of that dynamic, and I think that's like could be fun. So it's such a fun concept. I think that you could do it again with all the same roles, and I'd probably be pretty happy.
Yeah, LaTonya, what do you think? And do you think you would win the second season of the game?
I can't say that I would win because I don't have a lot of experience with either knowing anything about Survivor or playing Mafia. So that puts me at a little bit of a disadvantage. I would probably just get cast as like a humble townsperson who would like pretend to be Mafia, just to feel something. But yeah, I would totally play this game if I was asked to participate. It seems like a lot of fun. It seems like a good way to spend an evening, and then it's on the internet. I think we should all be considered for season 2. The 3 of us definitely need to play, and then someone else needs to take over our role podcasting about it.
Well, do we want to reveal what role we were playing on the during the podcast? We all had a secret role, right?
Wait, what role are we? Wait, we all had roles during this first season?
Yeah, we didn't have you all had a secret role, right?
Hold on.
That's scrambling.
I was Rudy.
I don't know my role, so I'm gonna shut my mouth.
Actually, I was Rupert. I had to build a shelter in the sand back here while we've been podcasting. No, that's a very dated reference.
I was Francesca.
Just literally anything about Survivor. Yeah. I don't.
That's incredible. Really. That it's been so fun. It's a podcast about Survivor, or something Survivor related. Yeah. It's great.
You're welcome. Yeah,
I was Survivor player Fiji. Did they do one there?
Actually, this
Yeah,
is actually
yeah,
quite
a
fitting
lot of
because on
them.
the season where they
Great.
went to Fiji the first time, there was actually a contestant who like didn't actually end up on the cast who went there. So it's kind of fitting. It feels like you're like you're in, totally.
Wait, what did you just say? There was a contestant who didn't end up on the cast who still went to Fiji.
They were like the 20th player, and then they like didn't end up playing.
So that's LaTonya.
Yeah.
That's
I
your
guess
problem.
it's not a
with-
good. It's not a great.
I don't want to do that. That sounds
Yeah,
boring.
you can be a different role. Okay.
I'd like to actually be in the game, please.
Sure. Sure.
We'll work on it for next
Okay.
time.
Well, it's because we said
but-
the spirit of LaTonya earlier.
No.
So.
The spirit of LaTonya is in the building. But
All right.
I will say, just as we near the end of this journey, just a shout out to everyone who was part of this.
Yeah.
Josh Wigler, DJ LaBelle Klein, Lirsa, Ali Lasher, Lexi from Survivor Philly, Will, Karishma, Shannon, Karen from Canada, Aaron, Jess, Dr. Amanda, Dan, Jordan, Jason, and the winner of this game, Mike Bloom. Okay,
Wah, wah,
that's
wah.
Boom,
enough
boom, bloom.
energy.
Instead of boom,
Yeah.
bloom, bloom.
You can't do that. I just like sitting next to all of them too in this little. I hope someone screenshots this on YouTube. This is
Let me hear you
cute.
say Maxwell. Oh.
Maxwell Jones, Mateo. Who knows
Yeah.
what Alexis it is?
Yeah.
Let us know
great.
if you have other Alexi that come to mind.
Alexisy.
Alexis's.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Oh my God! Wait, Alexa, stop. So I think that's our podcast. What a great podcast it was. Any just any like closing messages that you want to send to people before you get to the anything, Grace, LaTonya, anything you want to leave people on. We don't know when we'll be back talking about this show, even though it might be, who knows, next week for a reunion. Who knows?
Who knows? Who could actually say? No one. Certainly
can't.
not you, Matt. You don't know
anything. I literally
Um,
don't.
I guess we should plug some things.
Yeah, plug some things, LaTonya.
Wonderful.
Or Mike Bloom, if that's your real name.
That is not his real name. He told me. But I'm not gonna let on. I won't tell anyone your real name, Mike Bloom. I swear. I swear. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some podcasting quite a bit for post-show recaps in the month of October. I have 2 podcasts that I can't talk about yet.
Flex. 2 secret podcasts?
2 secret
What a flex.
podcasts that I may or
can't
may not have
believe they're
accidentally
making-
given away. On
Yeah, I
this
can't believe
show
they're
before.
making you like. Is there an embargo on this? Like
There
there is
was an embargo, and I just let it slip right here.
right now, or on a previous.
No,
episode?
on a
did you
previous
say?
podcast.
Oh,
I just
Wait, what are
told
you talking
everyone the
about?
news.
Not on the Black Widow Brigade.
Yes,
What?
I accidentally told everyone news that they weren't supposed to know yet.
huh.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a good
But
thing
see,
that I did.
they didn't know they weren't supposed to know.
So I'll do the reverse.
either.
I'll like now that you know the news, I will present a mystery for it.
We like a good puzzle.
I'll do the reverse of what's right. So yeah, the first podcast is going to be with one Josh Wigler, and it'll be it's a reboot of a TV show. Is what I'll say. Josh and I are really just gonna like hang out, have a good time, not take things too seriously at all, and probably laugh a lot. So if you want to hear something like that, please tune in to our Redacted podcast. And then I'll be doing another podcast with 2 members of the Rob Has a Podcast community that community knows very well.
Is it me and Grace?
It's not. No, sorry.
That was my guess.
Yeah. It's 2
I would bet
others
on
that they know, that people know really well, and it'll be about a show that is not getting a revival like my first podcast, but that is instead coming to an end.
Wow.
Yeah,
Life and death in October for LaTonya.
Wow, look at
Beginnings
you.
and ends.
See how you
Never
can't talk
stops.
about that. That's very consequential.
Wow.
Never ever stops.
Just
So,
like DJ
yeah.
LaBelle Klein.
Please tune in to post show recaps. for those things that I will let you know about on my Twitter, which you can find at LK Starks. I will let you all know what I'm able to let you know immediately when I'm able to let you know.
Okay, makes sense.
Thanks.
I hope people don't go back and never mind. I'm not even going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah, let me finish LaTonya's plugs. LaTonya is on post-show recaps theater
yes.
movie coverage this month. Should come out soon. If not, it's already out by the time you're listening to this. We watched 3 movies in September. We watched Dear Evan Hansen. We watched Cry Macho, a Clint Eastwood movie. And we watched Malignant with LaTonya Starks. And then we talked about it. So it's very fun. It should come out soon. Also over at Post Show Recaps, Succession season 3 is coming back, and so there's a preview podcast where Josh Wigler, Jess Sterling, and I chat about sort of our relationship with the show, and then we tier list the characters from Succession from actual good person, which nobody makes it to actual good person. No, we don't put a single person in that tier, to Bore on the Floor, all the way at the bottom, and there's many people who make it into Bore on the Floor. The people on Succession are terrible people, but it's a very fascinating show. So we'll be covering that 10 episodes, 2 preview podcasts. So check that out, Post Show Recaps, as well in the Patreon feed of Post Show Recaps, doing a James Bond rewatch. We did 3 movies leading up to No Time to Die, and we're going to cover No Time to Die, the new James Bond movie. Apparently that movie is like almost 3 hours. So
really,
yeah, and I booked the 10 p.m. showing.
Oh.
So I'm gonna fall asleep in the
movies. I'm supposed to see that movie at some point in the near future as well. My friend got us tickets. It's going to be for a much earlier showing because my strategy is like to try to not get COVID. Is to go when there's not a lot of people. Like earlier.
My prime time is like I love like a 2 p.m. movie, and I'm like, why did I sign up for 10 p.m.? I don't know why I did it. Anyway,
we'll go on a weekday too. Just like what's work?
Yeah,
when no one's there. Yeah, who cares anymore? That's work. The podcasts are work, people.
Work.
Speaking of podcasts, 2 more things. LaTonya was on Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast on an episode that I was on. I ran a game show called Taskmaster, and we played with some Rob as a podcast celebrities, much like Black Widow Brigade had rap personalities. This game had them, and it was very, very fun. I thought it was very fun. I'm seeing a lot of top 5 Renap episodes. I'm seeing that.
Wow,
this is the top 5.
You know? I'm seeing it. I'm
seeing top 5 Renap episode. Episode 149. Everyone,
top 5. I'm seeing that on the Twitter streets. Speaking of Taskmaster, on Fridays, around 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time, I go on twitch.tv/Haley Strong, and Haley Strong and I talk about the newest episode of the UK version of Taskmaster. So we've been doing that, and that has been a lot of fun. This weekend is Canadian Thanksgiving, so happy Canadian Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Canadianism.
Yeah, you know,
happy Canadian.
Yeah, you know, hey, it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend.
Wow, not the accent. Right. Wow, look at that.
Those are all my plugs.
Do you have any tasks that, like, I'm not going to do a Taskmaster right now, but like, do you have like a task on deck that I could do once this podcast is over? Like make a hat,
that you could post on Twitter. I mean, there literally was create the fanciest.
Sounds like someone listened to Renap episode 149.
I kind of did, because it was kind of a big deal, because I said
Matt's itching to get on the sequel.
Grace Leeder is on it. LaTonya Starks is also on
AJ
it.
Norris.
AJ Norris. We get Naomi Calhoun in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Frail Mary, actually.
Frail Mary. Crook House.
Frail Mary, full of grace.
Oh no,
that wasn't
AJ like, I gotta say, I mean, like, you know, the panel was all great, but there were some moments from AJ that like absolutely killed me. LaTonya too, actually. LaTonya's opening
really stole the show.
LaTonya's opening salvo in the episode is just a moment of sheer brilliance that should be watched.
Yeah, I appreciated it, especially 11th grade me, who took a forensic science class where basically all we did was talk about Charlie. We're friends.
Charlie, there was my friend Charlie.
Guys, big
Charlie too.
LaTonya, big serial killer news dropped today.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it when you know the kids are educated about like my previous life. I don't like to talk about it too much.
Wait.
Yeah.
I mostly just talk about it on podcasts for free. That's why I haven't written a book or anything. Don't plan to do so unless someone wants me to write a book.
You need the
of
money.
speculative fiction about the Manson family.
You
I
were
would
almost
happily
there.
do so.
You could have been there.
Yeah, and I was there, and for a while it was great.
The back in the day, there are all sorts of drugs going around. You
There's
never know
just
what
drugs
happens.
and orgies, and I was like, "What's wrong with this?"
Yeah, a few years in, I
God.
was like, things have changed. around
Yeah.
here.
Then
sending
then
my
that
wishes
Beatles album came
to-
out, and everything went to shit.
We have a town
It
hall.
really did.
We have a group meeting, please.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
This is all what a mess. And just like, well, you know what? I'm not going to reference the Manson family again. I'm just going to reference my plugs.
Yeah.
If you want to follow me, you can follow me at MattScottGW. Hit me over on the Twitter. But also, I'm on the Wrestling Wrap Up on Rob Has a Podcast with the one, the only, the icon, Mari Forth, who, in case you didn't know, Mari's a celebrity in these streets. Mari's been featured on BuzzFeed talking about the cookout and all the places. So check it out. Yes, LaTonya.
I have not been on Twitter nearly as much as I normally am.
You need to stay on Twitter. Go to you can probably go to Mari at Mari Talks Too Much Too, like the number 2. Now I'm doing Mari's plugs.
Yeah, do Mari's plugs.
But we're gonna be if you go there, I think her pin tweet's probably the BuzzFeed story. And beyond that, I'll mention you could find me here talking about Black Widow Brigade. And there's this podcast. There's going to be one where I'm talking with Alex Gardner, the creator, possibly a reunion. Who knows? Pure chaos. But it'd be awesome to make that happen. So stay tuned for that. And you know what? Last thing I'll say, not to skip over the Wrestling Wrap Up too quickly, is that we're actually recording our weekly episode tomorrow, a little bit earlier than in the week than usual. And we're talking with none other than Black Widow Brigade icon, Shannon. Shannon's going to be there.
Whoa.
Shannon's going to be on. My first time podcasting truly with Shannon. I'm pumped up.
My
I'm
gosh.
excited. I'm fired up. I'm enthralled. I'm jazzed.
That sounds amazing. She's like a beautiful Australian angel.
We'll turn it into a Black Widow Brigade podcast if I have anything to say about it. Mari, I know she's not ready for it, but it's going to become a Black Widow Brigade podcast instead of a wrestling podcast. So
Shannon guessing about wrestling is like a thing I didn't know I needed until right now.
I know.
But that's what you're going to get. And I think the cool thing is, as far as I know, Shannon is not a wrestling fan. Last week we had Sarah Carradine. Sarah Carradine.
Hey, really getting your Aussie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're all about the Aussies. We're going down under. And, bringing people back from down under.
Nope.
Up from under.
My mind just went full bloom at that entire thing.
Down underdog.
Yeah. Well, that's
Down
you.
underdog.
That's you.
That's a good one.
So we're going full bloom with Shannon, and it's gonna be good. But yeah, if you are not a wrestling fan, I would just recommend giving it a try, listening in, hearing the takes of these people who are also not wrestling.
If you're not a wrestling fan, who do you think you are? That's what I want to know. If you're not a wrestling fan, if you don't listen to the Wrestling Wrap Ups, or at least put it in your podcatcher of choice so they can get those downloads, who do you think you are? And furthermore, what gives you the right? That's what I want to know.
What else about wrestling do you think is so amazing, LaTonya?
I think the ability to choreograph throwing people is fantastic.
Who's your favorite?
Bianca
exactly.
Belair.
Bianca Belair. That was the right answer. We did it, guys. We did the podcast. Everyone knows wrestling very well. And we're going to we should just turn this into the Wrestling Wrap Up at some point. Honestly,
Mari will
be
thrilled.
Switch the branding over really quickly. I would do it, but I don't want to get in trouble for pretending that this is the Wrestling Wrap Up. It is not. That's the disclaimer. Listen, check it out. We've been on here for too long, but thank you, Grace, for being here. Thank you, LaTonya, for being here.
It was an honor and a privilege.
Thanks to me for being here. Can I thank myself? I don't know.
Thank yourself, man.
patting myself on the back. But that's it. And this is Silent Podcasts.